Hi there, let's take a look at another past exam question. This is a paper 2 question worth 9 marks on a case study business called NARI. And there's the question. NARI uses a just-in-time approach to manufacturing. Analyze the ways in which this might affect NARI's profits. As always, unpick the demands of the question. Well, this one is clearly about just-in-time or JIT manufacturing. And our arguments need to get to, our endpoint needs to get to how the use of just-in-time might affect NARI's profits. And well, how many arguments do we need? Well, the range required for this question is clearly 2 because the examiners asked us to analyse the ways in which it might affect. So it could be either positive or negative. And well, there's a variety of different ways of responding to this question, but let's just take a minute to remind ourselves about the case study business. NARI is a low-cost smartphone or mobile phone manufacturer based in Asia and is highly efficient. And to support its efficiency, it has a very complex global supply chain with components being delivered via different methods from over 50 countries to its assembly factories in China. We're told that NARI relies on efficiency and high sales volumes because it competes using low prices against other established smartphone brands. And we're also told that NARI has to pay discounts or costs to retailers who buy its phones if it doesn't meet the delivery targets. In other words, if it's unable to supply the right number of phones, the right volume on time. So with that in mind, there was lots in the case that we could use to develop 2 points. One saying, in this case, how JIT is a positive effect on NARI's profits, and then a counter argument, how it might potentially negatively, how the use of JIT or just in time might negatively affect NARI's profits. Let's start by having an example of how I would have, in this case, responded to the positive side. So how does it positively affect its profits? Don't forget 9 marks, so no evaluation. So we're just going to use our pecan approach here. The first sentence states the point. JIT enables NARI to operate highly efficiently and therefore compete profitably because it keeps costs very low, unit costs very low. So that's the argument we're going to develop to explain how JIT, just in time, affects NARI's profits positively. So let's get into the analysis here, and hopefully you'll be able to spot where we've used some application, both from the case study, but also adding a little bit of such as seasoning to add some extra application to the response. So NARI's business model and ultimately its profits is effectively based on just-in-time. For example, just-in-time enables it to minimize value of inventories in production, such as memory chips, screens, and other electronic components. This helps reduce inventory storage costs, minimize the costs of waste, and enables assembly lines to operate at high capacity utilization. This further reduces unit costs and results in higher profit margins and higher sales, as NARI mainly competes using low prices. Just-in-time also means that NARI does not hold large quantities and values of finished smartphones in inventory, and this is important to profits because it competes by frequently launching new, improved smartphones. So it's important that it's not left with inventories of obsolete phones. So there we go. We've explained how and why. That's effectively their business model relies on JIT to be efficient. And some application there, including some such as seasoning, such as memory chips and screens, etc. I think that's a decent argument to explain a positive effect on NARI's profits of JIT, but don't forget we also need our counter argument. And here with this argument, I've gone down the issues that might arise if there are delays in that complex global supply chain. So, however, NARI's profits might be affected negatively, or you could say NARI's profits might fall if problems are experienced with just-in-time. full stop. So now we go on to develop the point. Nari's supply chain is highly complex, with components arriving for assembly in China from suppliers in many countries. If there were delays in key components arriving, for example, from problems with shipping containers or flights, then Nari's production lines might have to slow down or even stop, which would increase unit costs and lower gross profit margins. Consequently, if the delay is prolonged, Nari's production output might fall, which in turn might lead to the costs of discounts paid to retailers if it is not able to supply on time. Lower output might reduce sales revenues in general, which, along with those costs of higher discounts, might reduce Nari's profit margins and profits. So we've effectively combined a couple of ways in which a problem with JIT might therefore lead to lower profits, mainly due to high costs, but also potentially lower sales volumes. And again, I've just highlighted in red there where we've drawn from the case study. We were told about the complex supply chain. We were told how different methods of transport are used to get the components to the factory. So I've just added in a bit of application, shipping containers or flights, because they're bound to use those. And also talked about the discounts to retailers that they would have to pay, the costs of those if they miss their supply deadlines. And hopefully that's a good argument to explain how profits might be affected negatively from the use of just-in-time. There you go. Hopefully you found that useful.